Hello, YouTubers. This is Joe Bravo and Mo Bravo's Knife Reviews. Today I have two of my favorite knives, the Craig Brown Knives Cortex and his new release, the Cortex XL. Both of these knives run on bearings. They're CNC made out of Washington. Craig's been making knives for a long time. I've had a plethora of different knives of his on my channel. I can't count how many Cortexes I've had, or LHTX or LHCs. I had a really sweet Exponent at one point, and if you follow the channel, you know that I really enjoy his knives. Um, this on the bottom is a buddy of mine's, his Cortex V1 zirconium scales, Damascene steel blade, zirconium pocket clip, and zirconium spacer on ceramic bearings. You have the traditional, I don't want to call it a flipper tab, but it's a top flipper tab. Really organic, really nice light detent on this guy. It is 3.7 ounces, which is a little heavier than normal ones, as the inlays here are made out of zirconium, and the inlay is on both sides. It's around 7 3/4 blade, so not small, not long, but very. I used to call it gentlemanly like. If you pulled this out, you wouldn't really scare anybody if you were in an office-like environment, wanted to cut an apple or do something like that. This knife would play in a suit. This knife would play dressed up. Really just a quality build, quality knife, very fancy, especially in the Dama steel configuration. Excellent pattern, excellent etching, and I really like the blade shape on this. It's really a laser when it comes to opening letters. And what Craig did is he took all the pros out of his V1 design, migrated over to the V2, which was when he switched over to doing some in titanium frame wire. And then he used that to develop the FSD, the mini FSD, and the mini FSD-1. And after he went through that, he came to the Cortex XL, which is a full titanium inset lock here. I don't know if you can see it. So it's not a bolster lock. It's similar to the bolster style, but it's an inset lock. You can see it in there. That disengages the lock bar. And this has that same top flipper tab, still running on ceramic bearings, very drop shut, hydraulic. You could tune it to your liking. This one, instead of the hole, has the fuller. Now, if you followed Craig's knives for a while, the LHC used to have a fuller, or I guess the LHCX used to have the fuller, one of them, and you couldn't really deploy from it. Then he moved over in the Cortex V2. He changed the blade shape from the hole to the fuller. I never had one, so I don't know if there was any issues deploying from it. But I will say the FSD that I had, I didn't have a problem flicking from the fuller, and I certainly don't have any issues here. What I like is you could choke up on your flick and go straight up, or you can go out just like you can with the Cortex. Same similar blade shape. I call it similar. I don't know if he just took it and increased it or not, but it's definitely a little bit more utilitarian than the uh, gentleman-like, fancy, proper style blade that was in the V1. They both weigh 3.7 ounces, so as this is a full titanium build, this is the full zirconium build. They do weigh the same. To put them next to each other in size, the Cortex XL, even though I thought it was going to be a much bigger knife, is only maybe a quarter of an inch bigger. It is wider, thicker, but I think that gives you the ability to choke up and really get a good grip. Um, I really enjoy it. I think it's a really nice blade. I think it's certainly more of a user than I would say the Cortex V1 was. But if I had to pick and choose which one I like better, I think because of how balls deep I was when the Cortex V1 dropped, I had so many of them. I still do think I like the Cortex V1 better, but it's always hard to improve upon something that you really grew to like. It doesn't make it better or worse, just this is what I fell in love with. This, I think, for me, is a little bit too much of a user. I don't want to call it a go to war knife, but just if I go to the case here and I get one of my fixed blades, here's a mini gunny from Bark River Knives, and look at that, the Cortex XL is bigger than the mini gunny, and here is the Fox River EXT, which is, about an inch smaller and certainly less blade. But I feel like, in comparison to the Mini Gunny and the Fox River, you're stepping into really high quality user blades. And I really think that's what this Cortex XL does. Being that I have the case open, let me just do another comparison here. Here's the ZT350, excuse me. And again, look at the size of the blade shape. Excuse me, look at the size of the blade. Look at the overall length. Um, you know, this is a go to war type knife. At least it was however many years ago since it's been released, probably close to 10 years, So it is funny to see that where Craig came from, the LHCX and the LHCX V1 or V2, those are really proper gentleman style knives, You're probably more in line with the Sage was a little bit more gentlemanly than, pulling out a EM2, I mean, you could pull this one out and I don't think you're scaring anybody with it, especially at the carbon fiber. And, just as a comparison, I think I've got a paramilitary too here. And, I would say if you pulled out a paramilitary too in an office type setting, you might get some dirty looks, even with especially with the G10 camo. But, and that's what's so funny. The V1, while it still has the same edge length, I guess you could say, um, it still never looked like a go to war or scary or weapon. And I know we talk about that sometimes. EDC means a whole bunch of different things to a bunch of different people. And, I guess it's kind of like looking at a duckling versus a neutralizer, whereas the neutralizer is a lot wider, a lot thicker, and that duckling, even though it's only an inch or so shorter, you get one of those in a liner carbon fiber, and it definitely changes the property of the knife, changes the weight of the knife, changes the way the knife looks and feels, and that's what's so great about knives. Two knives are the exact same way in different materials could certainly make the knife appear different, even though the working edge doesn't change between the knives. So, kind of like that Roosevelt I had that was carbon fiber. I think that thing weighed less than 2.6 ounces versus 3.2, 3.3 of the full titanium Roosevelt. And I'll tell you, it really changed the property of the knife. You would put it in your pocket and it would just disappear. So, really happy I was able to get this in. I got to thank Craig for letting me have it and have an opportunity with it and be able to have it and share it with the channel with you guys. It's been tough trying to find knives that are, not ones that have already been on YouTube and been reviewed. So I'm glad that, I can give you a fresh opinion on the new Cortex XL and compare it to the Cortex V1. And hopefully that gives you a little bit of enlightenment if you do want to pull the trigger on one of these. So keep your eye on the channel. Hopefully I get some stuff new and can get it on here and share it with you. If not, please don't ever forget to reach out to me on Instagram or find me on Facebook and have no problem having a chat with you. You guys have a great night and a great rest of your weekend, and look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks. Bye.